All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. So, the finger pointing circus that is being orchestrated by the New York Jets head coach Aaron Glenn continues as seven coaches now from his initial staff have been shown the door, which includes his offensive and defensive coordinators. And the bottom line is Aaron Glenn is running out of people to blame. Glenn only has 1 year on the job as the head coach of the Jets. And the fact that he has already made so many personnel changes to his staff screams that, you know what? Maybe this guy is not equipped to be a head coach in the NFL. Why so many changes soon when you, Aaron Glenn, made the decision to hire these people? Now, Glenn inherited a defense that was third in the NFL in yards allowed for 2024. And on his watch, they were 25th. You think back to so many questionable moves that Glenn has made so far. He traded Sauce Gardner midseason to the Indianapolis Colts, and that was right after the Jets gave him an extension last July. That same day, we saw the Jets trade defensive tackle Quinnen Williams to the Dallas Cowboys. Glenn's gamble last offseason at quarterback on Justin Fields, which backfired big time. And I've got news for you folks, okay? Because as bad as Glenn's first season with the Jets was as the head coach of the Jets, the second season doesn't look promising either. I've talked about this. This is make or break time for the Jets. And the reason why I say it is this: they have four of the top 44 picks for April's NFL draft. That includes the second overall pick as well as the first pick of the second round. And it is ultra, I mean, ultra important for the Jets to hit on at least two of those guys. Why? Because A, at some point you got to find yourself a quarterback. That's number one. Number two, you think about it. You gave up Quinnen Williams, you gave up Sauce Gardner. Two of those picks that I mentioned are the result of those trades. So you have to find guys that are going to replace them, and you have to find guys defensively that are going to fit that system. And like I said, of those first four picks that the Jets have, it is important that they hit on at least two picks. But I'm not optimistic because over the years, if you've watched and studied the Jets, more often than not, they miss on those picks. And there's really nothing that is really should entice anybody to say, you know what, the Jets are getting ready to do something at the NFL draft because they just don't have the track record of it. Glenn's got to find his quarterback. Make no mistake about it. We saw him get a mulligan, if you will, for 2025. He ain't getting a mulligan for 2026. All right, that's the bottom line. TFX, what's going on, my man? You're saying some Jets fans saying they're going to wait for Manning. I'll tell you like this: if Arch Manning comes out next year, and if Arch Manning is a top five pick in the 2027 NFL draft, I guarantee you Aaron Glenn won't be the one drafting him. Okay, that's the bottom line. Because if Aaron Glenn has another season close to the one that he just had as the head coach of the Jets, he ain't gonna be around for 2027. Honestly, the one thing or one of the things that it's probably two things, in my opinion, okay, that saved Aaron Glenn from getting fired after this season. That is, you know what? The ineptitude of Woody Johnson as an owner, because he wasn't going to fire Glenn because he still owes him $40 million for the next 4 years. He wasn't going to sit up there and pay Aaron Glenn not to be the head coach of the Jets and still have to go out there and pay somebody else. And I think also due to the fact that Aaron Glenn was a former Jet, first round pick of the Jets back in 1994, played I think 8 seasons for the Jets. So I think there's a little bit of nostalgia right there, but nonetheless, I always try to give coaches the benefit of the doubt after year one and see what they can build upon with their system. But the thing is, if you watched the Jets this past season, there's really nothing for you to get behind in regards to Aaron Glenn as far as the head coach. You think about it. The defensive side of the football is his specialty. He took over one of the best defenses in the NFL, and they got worse, much worse. The Jets were 3-14. Okay, I could take the 3-14 if you're showing the ability to have signs of improvement as the season progresses. The Jets found a way to get worse. Okay, and if you look at their last 5 games, all 5 of those losses, okay, were by 20 or more points. And in some games, the Jets didn't even look like they competed. 34-10 to Miami, 48-20 to Jacksonville, 29-6 to New Orleans. Okay, 42-10 at home to New England. And honestly, it could have been a lot worse if Mike Vrabel didn't call the dogs off in that one. And then, of course, 35-8 to cap off the season against Buffalo. And that 8 was a struggle for them to get. It's one of those where, you look at it, there's not a lot of talent on offense. I know that the Jets are expected to get Garrett Wilson back healthy for next season. They need help on the offensive line. They need help on the defensive line. They need help at linebacker. They need help in their secondary. They need help at quarterback. You see the trend here. The Jets basically need a football team. And on top of that, to show you the ineptitude of this organization, Aaron Rodgers is going to count for more than $30 million against the cap next year for the Jets. The same thing could be said about Sauce Gardner. And if the Jets have any vision as far as parting with Justin Fields after the season, which I expect them to do, his cap hit for the Jets is going to be more than $20 million for next season. So at the end of the day, it's one of those where when you think about the Jets and their ineptitude, and of course Aaron Glenn fits right into that mode. Basically, all you have to do at this point is cue the Benny Hill music, folks. That's it. It's one of those where getting back to the fact that the Jets need a quarterback, and like I said, Aaron Glenn got a mulligan for 2025. He's not going to get one for 2026, which means he's got to find a quarterback. And being that he didn't draft a quarterback last year, something tells me not only are the Jets going to draft a quarterback this year, but they're going to do what they do oh so often, and that is rush that young man at quarterback when he's clearly not ready. We have seen it so often with this Jets organization, and they're going to screw this up. That's the bottom line. You're asking me, do I think that Justin Fields will ever start a game again? Um, he will, but I think the only way that Justin Fields, not for the Jets though, I think the only way that Justin Fields starts another game in the NFL is if he's on a team as a backup and either the starting quarterback gets injured or he really, and I mean really, impresses his team that he's working with, and it's a quarterback battle. But I don't think anybody's going to straight up go out there and give Justin Fields the keys to their franchise, because you look at it like this. This is not a third team that he's been on. And of course, last year, Aaron Glenn boasted that, you know what, he can work with Justin Fields because he hasn't been coached. Well, Aaron Glenn didn't do Justin Fields any favors either. Okay. And I will say this about Justin Fields: great athlete. I'm not sure if he's a quarterback. And the only reason I say I'm not sure, he hasn't shown what he can and can't, or what he can't, if he can do it right now in the NFL, better yet. But on top of that, you look at the coaching that he has had. So I'm going to give Justin Fields an incomplete, but I really think the odds are stacked against him at quarterback, because he played with 3 organizations that recently have not specialized, or at least the coaches that is that he had didn't specialize in developing quarterbacks. And again, with the Jets, it's going to be the same old song and dance, because they're going to go out there and ruin themselves another young quarterback. And with so many changes to this Jets coaching staff, my thing is this: when you've gotten rid of so many guys, and think about it, they fired Steve Wilks during the season. This is a guy that Aaron Glenn brought in. Your passing game coordinator is gone. Your quarterbacks coach is gone. Your D-line coach is gone. Linebackers coach and assistant DBs. And now you just parted ways with your offensive coordinator, Tanner Engstrom. My thing is this: after 1 year, especially since all of these guys that I mentioned, Aaron Glenn brought in, that is a shot on him as far as not getting it right with his picks to work for his staff. And with that said, the Jets should have just simply wiped the slate clean and said, you know what, Aaron Glenn, thanks for coming, but we have to start over. This ain't working out. And from going back to what I said earlier about, um, you know, the possibility of Woody Johnson not wanting to pay Aaron Glenn the $40 million that he still owes him while also paying another head coach, you look at the difference in organizations. You look at the Patriots, okay? Robert Kraft promoted Gerard Mayo, one of his own. Gerard Mayo was a first round draft pick of the Patriots back in 2008. Okay, solid linebacker, looked like he was building a coaching resume on, Belichick's staff there. Took over for Belichick. After 1 year, Robert Kraft sat back and said, you know what? This is not my guy. He moved on from him and brought in Mike Vrabel. And of course, the rest is history. Sometimes you got to be able to cut your losses. And I don't think that Woody Johnson is going to do that. Woody Johnson, I mean, it's hard because there's been so many inept owners, and there are so many inept owners, in my opinion, right now in the NFL. But nonetheless, Woody Johnson might be the worst of the worst because we're talking about a guy whose team has not gotten to the postseason since 2010, which is very difficult to do in the National Football League, especially now with 17 games in the regular season and an additional wild card spot in each league. And at the end of the day, it's not just that the Jets ain't getting to the playoffs. The Jets are not competing. Okay, they haven't even had a winning record since 2015. That falls into the lap of the owner. And of course, getting back to Aaron Glenn, he is not making things better with his decision making in a very short period of time as the coach of the Jets. You're also hearing reports today that the Jets, reached out to former NFL head coach John Gruden about being an assistant on Aaron Glenn's staff. My thing is this: why would John Gruden want any parts of the Jets? That's number one. Number two, why would John Gruden want to go out there and be an assistant to Aaron Glenn? It's the other way around. If you're bringing in Aaron Glenn to be an assistant on John Gruden's staff, I totally get it. But there's no way in the world that John Gruden will want to be an assistant on Aaron Glenn's staff because it wouldn't be a matter of if, it would be more like when the Jets made the decision to let Aaron Glenn go and then just simply promote John Gruden. You're saying apparently Belichick is watching the Hall of Fame ceremony on television. I addressed that in a short earlier this evening, and I'll tell you like that. It's one of those where it's pettiness. And I said it was one of those where, you know, I feel like the Patriots are being punished for, Spygate, Deflategate, all of that stuff. Because you think about it, Robert Kraft is not in the Hall of Fame, and I said this, but Jerry Jones is. And you think about it, Robert Kraft has accomplished more as a team owner in the NFL than Jerry Jones did. And now I think it's the same thing with Bill Belichick. And I'm curious to see if it's going to be the trifecta, if we're going to see somebody, do it to Tom Brady as well when his time comes to get into the Hall of Fame. But nonetheless, getting back to the Jets, if you are a Jet fan, if you're a Jet backer, how inspired should you be that Aaron Glenn is still the head coach of this team? Again, like I said before, for the better part of the second half of the season, they didn't compete. And usually, if you have a bad team, you want to see if they compete coming down the stretch and you have the potential of a carryover or some type of carryover heading into next season. The Jets simply don't have that. And the Jets, they're just a rudderless ship right now. And of course, Aaron Glenn is not doing them any favors. So, of course, I'll tell you like this, with all of this said and done, like I said, Aaron Glenn has nobody else to blame at this point, and it's on him. Okay, the onus is on him to turn this thing around in Florham Park because you just got rid of the bulk of your coaching staff. You just got rid of the guys that you brought into your staff. So the fact that you got rid of so many people after year one, and in some of the cases they didn't even get through the regular season, that is a reflection on you. So, like I said, it's put up or shut up time for Aaron Glenn. at this point. Now, will Aaron Glenn be able to turn things around for the Jets? I'll tell you like this. You can never say never in this world, but with everything that we've seen from this organization, with everything that we've seen so far with Aaron Glenn on his watch as a head coach of the Jets, is there anything to be optimistic about? And honestly, I am going to say no, because again, defensive football is his specialty. That is his side of the football. And the Jets not only found a way to be worse under him than they were in 2024, they were god awful. Okay. And then Aaron Glenn, you come in and you make you're trying to push your scheme as the head coach. The players that you inherited from Robert Sala were clearly not comfortable with that. And instead of you trying to make adjustments to them and try to meet them halfway, you trade them. Okay. And again, the defense just simply got worse. So, like I said, there's nothing about this right now that is going to inspire or should inspire anybody to say, hey, things are going to get better. But again, like I said at the top of this, no more people for Aaron Glenn to blame. He's got to look in the mirror, and whatever happens the rest of the way for the Jets, that's going to be on their head coach. And I'm talking about for the 2026 season. Not a single interception with a cornerback head coach. Listen, you hit the nail right on the head, and you think about it because you're 100% right. They play 17 games now. And in those 17 games, nobody got one pick. And it was one of those where they weren't even close. I think they might have had one or two chances and they dropped it for the entire season. But 17 games, you don't force one single interception. Okay. And I'm going to rattle off, some stats from this season for the Jets. The only thing that was really respectable was Brees Hall. He got 1,000 yards, okay, on the ground. But Brees Hall only had 4 touchdowns. The Jets as a team had 15 touchdowns passes. Their leading passer was Justin Fields with 1,259 yards. Their leading receiver was Garrett Wilson with 395 yards. He only played 8 games. Okay. You look at it sack wise, their leading sacker was Will McDonald with 8. Okay. As a team, the Jets only had 26 sacks. So that's basically a little bit north uh, than a sack a game, maybe a sack and a half a game. That is it. And again, like I said before, no interceptions. Okay. No interceptions. You think about it, not just the interceptions. They only had this season 9 forced fumbles. Okay. So again, this falls into the lap, especially with the interceptions. Okay, that's your bag if you're Aaron Glenn. That's what you made your reputation on, being a solid DB, because he was a solid DB when he played. All right. But he has not been able to translate that to success so far with the Jets. But like I said before, ain't nobody else for him to blame, baby. That's it. This is on him. Okay. And I'll tell you like this, if the Jets screw this draft up, which I'm pretty sure that they will, and if the Jets get off to a slow start next season, you're going to hear angst from the fan base. You're going to hear angst from the media, and it's going to be one of those things where Woody Johnson might not want to do it, but Woody Johnson might have to pull the plug on this Aaron Glenn experiment sooner rather than later. And I'll tell you like this, baby, it ain't looking good. But like I said at the top, the onus is on Aaron Glenn. No place to run, no place to hide, and no more people to blame. So what's it going to be? It's put up or shut up time, and let's see if Glenn is going to be up for the challenge. But folks, that's going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out this 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. TFX, my man, as always, definitely appreciate the commentary, definitely appreciate the support. And I know you'll be chiming in soon because I got plenty to talk about for the NFL leading up to Super Bowl number 60, and just changing gears in regards to Super Bowl 60 before I sign off rather. How about this if you're a Jet fan? Either you have to sit back and see the Patriots win their 7th championship, or Sam Darnold, your former first round pick at quarterback that you gave up on, win. And I'll tell you like this, if the Seahawks win this game, it wouldn't surprise me to see Sam Darnold be the MVP. That would be the icing on the cake, if you will, and it would scream, more futility and ineptitude for the Jets. But if you're on Twitter, now the X, you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you give me that follow, I'll do the same in return. And that also goes for Instagram. You can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you're on Facebook, definitely be sure to check out the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports groups going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I'm signing off. And I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.